guys, it's Syama Maher here, and today I'm chatting about the supply chain and what on earth is going on and how we're going to be managing our supply chain issues in this upcoming year. Now, obviously, most of you guys have been feeling the pressure on in 2021 in terms of not only the pressure to sell through goods, liquidate product that you've been sitting on for maybe some time, but also just the sheer lags of what it's been like to get product into your distribution center, into your retail channels, and really ultimately into the hands of your consumers. Now, unfortunately, supply chain issues are going to be projected to be challenging for the upcoming year of 2022. And the reason really is that we are still so far behind in terms of how we are getting not only goods to the port, but really the shortage of labor. When we think about even the truck drivers who can get goods from the port to those respective distribution centers. So it's not just a matter of, hey, prioritizing, let's say, PPE or other goods that are coming from international in order to import them domestically, so prioritization of goods, but we're also seeing, due to a labor shortage of truck drivers and other people within the supply chain, a real challenging time in terms of extracting those products outside of these labor ports. Now, what's been interesting about this is we've been seeing this phenomenon happen now for about 9 months or so. Certainly last year with COVID, huge shutdown in terms of manufacturing. And so unfortunately with that, with all of the factories being shut down from everywhere in Vietnam, we looked at Thailand, we looked at obviously China, India, everyone being shut down. Now that those factories are back online, so it took us about 9 months, 12 months in some cases to see factories really getting back online. Now that factories are back online, the issue isn't so much manufacturing in certain countries. The issue now is how do we work through import and getting products directly to the consumer or directly to your retailers. So this will continue to be an issue. Right now, as I'm shooting this video, we are in November of 2021. And one of the major issues that we're seeing right now is obviously brands not being able to provide products for the holiday season. In some cases, many brands are experiencing serious chargebacks from retailers because they're unable to get those goods to those companies at the right time. Now, those of you guys who are doing business in wholesale obviously have seen through those contracts just what those penalties are, and certainly missing your delivery window is a demarcation in terms of what you might actually end up losing on that PO. And in some cases, those retailers might actually cancel that entire purchase order if you're egregiously beyond that shipping window. So this is actually going to cause another huge issue. So follow me with this scenario. Let's say you have product. It's been so long that you've been waiting for this product. It's now sitting at the port, I don't know, Long Beach, California, and you're unable to get the product out of the port. Well, obviously, the retailer knows that you're waiting for the product, but really they have nothing to do with that. They're waiting for you. Maybe they've given you a couple extensions, obviously understanding the nature of what's going on in the market. But these retailers need to have product because, guys, we're coming up against Black Friday, we're going into the holidays, etc. So let's say you miss the shipping window. Now, all of a sudden, that purchase order has been canceled from that retailer, thereby giving you back those goods, right? Well, what happens if that's seasonal merchandise? All of a sudden, your window to be able to sell that seasonal merchandise is now narrowing down as we move to the end of the year. This might mean that if you are forced to sell this direct to consumer, which is great because you have inventory for direct to consumer, you may actually be ending up taking massive amounts of markdowns and discounts because you want to move through the seasonal merchandise before you end up into the beginning of next year, before you end up into, January, February of 22. So not only, right, are these supply chain issues going to mean canceled purchase orders, chargebacks, a whole sorts of other things from retailers, but you're also looking at potentially just not making the same amount of volume or revenue from those products because now you're forced to sell those products at a discounted price point in order to move them within a certain period or a certain window. So that is one major issue that we're seeing with supply chain forecasting. And certainly as we move into next year, a lot of these mechanics are still going to need to be worked out, right? 2022, previously people thought that was going to be the year that supply chain kind of rebounded. It's now looking like it's going to be another year of being able to get our supply chain nailed down. And when I say supply chain, that means everything from sourcing your materials, in many cases, not only just sourcing those goods, but those materials that need to be shipped to your manufacturer. So again, lags in time here. Shipping to your manufacturer has to produce them, ship them to the port or to that distribution center, and then from there they end up getting sent to your retailers, right? Or maybe they sit in your warehouse for direct-to-consumer sales. But that entire sequencing of events is now taking much longer, and there's not necessarily an end in sight in terms of when we think things are going to turn back online. So what does that mean for you, and how do you need to plan for that? Well, number one, obviously, I'm a huge fan of sourcing internationally and continuing to counter source. So that means if you are sourcing for factories, maybe it's a good idea to have a factory in India, maybe one in Turkey. Maybe you have one that's in China. Maybe you have one that's in South America. Maybe you're starting to manufacture out of Peru. But take a look at diversifying where your manufacturing is taking place. This is also very important as we start to look at shifts and changes in terms of import taxes and things like that. So diversify your manufacturing capabilities, even if you like where you're at right now. The other thing is to make sure you're staying competitive in terms of what is the right methodology or mode for you to get products to you. In some cases, it might be worth it to air freight something if you're actually working with very tight deadlines. That incremental might actually help you sell more products in a faster time period by paying a little bit more money on air freighting versus taking that traditional sea route, right? Putting something on a boat. So start to kind of take a look at what those mechanisms might be and what levers you can pull in order to make sure you're not overly concentrated. The other thing is to make sure that you're talking to your retailers. Obviously, you're not the only person dealing with supply chain issues. This is a global issue. The thing that is important here is, even though it's a global issue and even though your consumers understand it's a global issue, when it comes time to consumer behavior, your consumers are still going to expect to have a 4th of July sale. They're still going to expect to see things on sale for the holidays, right? You're not going to be able to get out of that consumer purchasing cycle. So while you might have some leeway from other partners in your sales pipeline, in your manufacturing pipeline, your consumers might be forgiving, but not all that forgiving in terms of their customer expectations. So diversify your opportunities here for next year. Make sure that you're counter sourcing. Take a look at the different areas in terms of freight. What's the best way to get the products to you? And then ultimately look, I would say, at low-hanging fruit. Right? Do I need to be actually over-indexing or changing my merchandising situation or cycle or product development cycles in order to actually work better with certain factories, right? In order to be able to work with countries and regions that are not having similar issues, right? Where things are more easily moving out of their ports and they're not prioritizing other categories, let's say over-exporting your category. All right, guys, that's all from me over here at Scaling Retail. If you're interested in a co-CEO by your side to help you navigate these tricky waters and terrain of supply chain management, capacity building, and growing and scaling your retail company, send us an email at hello@scalingretail.com. Would love to be able to help your business reach new heights in 2022 and beyond. Thanks so much. Bye.